Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first genealogy stream. I'm so excited for this. Hopefully, everything's coming out okay because it says my bit rate is a little bit unstable. And I'm getting some echoing. Okay, so hopefully that is working okay. If not, I'm still recording this, so it should work out great for that part. My name's Megan. Also go by the initials EB or Busy Bee Hammer B. So we're going to explore today how to create a family tree on Ancestry.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a really well-known celebrity to do this video, just to show you from information that's readily available online about this celebrity. And I'm sure some of you have already seen it in the top. So we are going to start a tree, excuse me, for Taylor Swift. And I love Taylor Swift. I'm a Swiftie, I guess, but I haven't been to any concerts or anything like that. But I love exploring celebrities' backgrounds. So I'm starting off Wikipedia, which is, of course, public, assuming this information is correct. So here we have Taylor. She was born December 13th, 1989, okay? And then it says down here in early life, she was born in West Reading, Pennsylvania, okay? So December 13th, 1989 in West Reading, Pennsylvania. So we're gonna go here and we're not starting with myself, not me. So we're gonna unclick this box and we're gonna go Taylor Allison Swift, okay? And I just wanna double check December 13th, 1989. So we're gonna female, she is still living. So you can put a birth date into Ancestry a couple different ways and it will come up. So if you do December 13th, 1989, it will automatically reformat it to do day, month, and then year. And then we're going to say West Reading, Berks County, Pennsylvania. So the AI on Ancestry is great. It's going to fill in a lot of things for you. Where that becomes an issue is a little bit later, but awesome. We've got Taylor Allison Swift in here. So now we're going to go add the father's information. So named after the singer-songwriter James Taylor, her father, Scott Kingsley Swift, okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the father, Scott Kingsley, male. He is living. And I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. The Swift family tree, I don't want others to view this because this is for educational purposes. So then we're going to save the tree, okay? And then we're going to go and we're going to do the mother, okay? So Andrea Gardner, née Finlay. So née means that is her usually maiden name, but it can also be used for a prior name by some folks. So Andrea Gardner Finlay, okay, female living. Great job. So as you can see, the only options on Ancestry right now for gender are male, female, and unknown, which are not particularly great, but right now we work with what we have. Okay. So we've added the mother, and then we get a little bit more information. So Allison and her brother Austin's maternal grandmother is Marjorie Finlay née Molenkamp. Okay, so we are going to take that because we have great information that Andrea's mother is Marjorie. So we are going to go here, we're going to do add mother, and then we're going to do Marjorie, and she's a female. Now here we're going to go, this says here we have a clue. Their maternal grandmother, Marjorie Finlay, was an opera singer whose singing in church became one of Swift's earliest memories of music. So that's great because was a clue to us, right? So that she has potentially passed away. So I'm going to go ahead and say deceased, and I'm going to save that. And then she does have her own page. So we're going to do this. Okay, she has passed away. So October 5th, 1928 in Memphis, Tennessee. So as you can see, especially for someone, and we're going to hit click edit on this, for someone who has passed away and is a pretty notable public figure, they're going to have a lot of information already online. Okay. So we've got that, and then we're going to go back and look at hers for her death and legacy. So she died June 1st, 2003 in Reading. Okay, so we go back here, we do this, we click it, and then we say Reading, Berks, Pennsylvania. Great. So we've got that information for her maternal grandmother. So as we go back to Marjorie, we're going to get some more information. Okay, so she is the maternal grandmother of singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. Amazing. She was born to Elmer Henry. Okay, so we have some clues here. Elmer Henry. And he lived 1897 to 1972. So we're going to add that. Elmer Henry, 1897. And now Ancestry has some quirks. So what I'm going to do here in the birthplace section is I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 commas. So that way, when I add information later, this is a placeholder for the fact that we didn't originally have a place of birth. And then we are going to say, so, to 1972, okay? And then we're going to go here, 1972, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add those 2 commas as a placeholder. We're going to hit save, okay? And this Wikipedia gives a great amount of information, which is super nice. So then her grandmother, Marjorie's mother, Cora Lee Morrow, 1900 to 1962. So here we can go here, Cora Lee Morrow is the maiden name, and then 1900, I believe, was the correct one. Again, using our commas as the place marks. And then to 1962 is the year of the death. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save that. So literally just from Wikipedia, we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4 generations on Taylor's maternal side, which is fabulous. We love as much information as possible. And so looking here, we're going to get a little bit more information. Okay. So personal life, she married Robert Finlay on March 22nd, 1952 in Palm Beach, Florida. Okay, great. So we go back up here and we say, okay, Robert Finlay, okay, and then do we have any information about a death? We do not, so I don't know if he has passed yet, but this is great information. So you're going to see me also open a lot of tabs as I go through this because I like to keep track of the information that I'm doing so I can make sure that if there are issues for a piece of information that I entered or a hint that I accept later, that I will be able to retrace my frame of thought essentially. Okay. Oh. And sorry, I'm moving some windows around here so I can make sure I see if there are any followers or anything. Okay, so we are back to Marjorie and her husband Robert Finlay and their marriage. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up Robert here and I'm going to open a new tab and then I'm going to add that marriage information in. So we have 22 March 1952 in Palm Beach, Florida. Okay, so Florida, they have some little things, so you want to make sure you are entering things correctly. They say Palm Beach, Florida to say the city, and so we would automatically assume that it's Palm Beach County. As we go further back in time, that can cause a little bit of issue. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this tab since I entered the marriage information, and I'm going to refresh just to make sure. So as you can see, with that first refresh, I've already got a ton more information, which as a genealogist, I find so exciting. So these little green leaves up here are the hints. They are AI generated by Ancestry.com's algorithms. So take them with a grain of salt unless you can verify, okay? And we're gonna talk about some of the ways in which you would verify this information, but I wanna make sure we get everything we possibly can from Taylor Swift and her family's Wikipedia pages. Okay, so Finlay was the son of Lancelot George Finlay. Okay, so now we've got Robert's parents, which is great. So we're gonna add this. I'm going to assume that they have passed just based on when they were likely born. So I click deceased and I'm going to save. And then we're going to go back, Eleanor Mayer. Great. And we are going to add that in. And I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift has probably already had this done. But I just wanted to honor her, right? Because she's announced her new album and things are in a very exciting place for her, which is amazing. So I thought this would be a great way to do this. Okay, so we've probably got as much as we can get from this just to start. And then we'll say Taylor Swift, her mother, Andrea Gardner Smith, Nathan Finlay. So I'm just going to kind of scoot through here and make sure I'm not missing any other information on her family. That would be helpful in her profile. I love how long this is. Like, she's just so prolific and amazing and great, and I love it. Okay. Wealth and other activities. All right, so that's good. So now we're going to go and we're going to open up Taylor's, and then we are going to add her brother in there. Okay, so we go down here, add family, add brother, and then it's going to pop up. So Austin Kingsley Smith, great. We've got his name, successful in his own right. March 11th, 1992. And if we look down further, he was also born in West Reading. Okay. There we go. March 11th, West Reading. Okay, so we've got him in there now, which is fabulous. And we've got the father already, so he is saying yes. Father Scott Swift is a financial advisor. It talks about Marjorie Finlay again, and then Swift's paternal great-grandfather. So we want to hold on to this right here, and we're going to come back to that. All right. So let's look at, I like to refresh again whenever I add information just so we have it. We're going to look at Taylor's profile now. So far, Taylor has 10 hints. So what I do again is I open these hints and the facts in a separate tab because I want to make sure. Okay, so we've got a little bit. There is public information for living folks that is available on some websites, but it is very restrictive, right? So it's going to be information that people can find very easily. So like U.S. Index to Public Records, For those of us who are elder millennials and older, we're going to remember a lot of this is coming from the yellow pages, right? So they still track this information even to this day, even if you're not actually getting the yellow pages anymore. And then, of course, we have school yearbooks, right? Usually yearbooks are everywhere, people can find them, so you're going to have all of this information. And then sometimes the hints, like I said, take them with a grain of salt. You're going to get folks that you definitely know are not Taylor Swift or not your family, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to say, hey, don't worry about that. We're going to move up to the next person. So I'm pretty sure this is correct that Taylor lived in Las Vegas during these time periods and LA during these time periods. But I want to make sure that I save stuff that I know I can verify for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Scott, her father, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I keep the facts open and then I keep the hints open. Okay, so here we go. Already we know this has to be right. Scott K. Swift, birth about 1853, married Andrea G. Finlay the 20th of February in 1998 in Harris County, Texas. I love that. I'm from Houston, go H-Town, right? So I just love that they were in that area and that's where they got married. They probably got married in Houston, but that's wishful thinking, hopefully for me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we click review. Now you see you have this quick page that you can add stuff from. I'm not a fan of the quick page. I always scroll down and I go to this view record page section and then I go ahead and click that. So we are going to go ahead and add that. So if you were to go to Texas and request these records, sometimes you get the case number or the file number or the certificate number, okay? So then that would be the information you would use to go to Harris County, Texas and order it if you are eligible to order it, because again, these folks are still living, so access to their records are restricted. Now, you'll see that this is different from the Scott Kingsley Swift I have up here. So you do click the box for name and you want to save this as an alternate. Some folks don't care about that, but as a genealogist, I want in the facts section a list of every single way his name was recorded in these records. So I'll show you that in a minute. And again, looking here, we see birth about 1950, but no place. So I'm going to click the little pencil here. I'm going to click in the place and I'm going to do my placeholder 2 commas. Another thing I do is I want to reflect this accurately. So I click the place for the marriage place and make sure it does specify this is Harris County, Texas, not Harris, Texas, right? So then we have the original name I have here and then the name from the record. So again, you click it, then you save it as an alternate. Here, no place of birth, so I click the little pencil, click in place, and add my placeholders. And then we're going to do save to tree. So it has saved that to the tree. We are back in the hints, and it says we have accepted this hint. If you want to help with Ancestry's AI, you can click why did you accept this hint and give the reasons. So the name is right, the relationships are right, the dates are right, the places are right. So they've added these two. I want to save and review these details for later, and I learned something new from this information. I don't know when these were added, but they are pretty new. And then you can type in other in there, which would help when folks are reviewing this information about why you saved a hint. So I'm going to go back to my facts tab. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, so now we see Scott Kingsley Swift, Scott K. Swift, about 1983, and then the marriage information. So again, this is what I mean. I want to see the name in which the way in which the person's name was recorded in each record. Sorry, that was very confusing. I want to see clearly in their facts timeline how their name was recorded in each record that I'm adding. Okay, so then we're going to go back to hints again. And this is where I can get a little bit more information about his family since it wasn't available on Wikipedia. So for one thing, I am going to see what this obituary. So usnewspapers.com, obituary index 1800s to current. This is pulling from newspapers.com, which is owned by Ancestry. And I have the highest level of membership on Ancestry, and I also pay separately for a higher level of membership on newspapers.com because I am a professional genealogist and I have clients that I'm hiring. So I just want to make sure that y'all are aware of how this works and that Ancestry is not free for a lot of things. They do have some free days where you can have access to records, special records like the military records or yearbooks, right? Because they want people to learn the kind of resources that Ancestry has available. So I'm going to go ahead and click review on the obituary index and see if this is the right family. Again, I'm going to go ahead and view the record page. And then, so we can see more information about what the obituary says, we are going to bloop, open that up. So automatically it says retired bank president, and Scott works for Merrill Lynch. So I'm like, this is probably the same family. So A. Dean Swift Jr., retired bank president, 83. A. Dean Swift Jr., 83, a former vice president and cashier of the old Central Penn National Bank and later president of the First National Bank of Williamsport, died of heart failure Wednesday at Reading Hospital and Medical Center, West Reading. He lived in Reading and previously lived in Wayne. He joined Central Penn in 1935, rose up the ranks, and in 1966 left to become president at the Williamsport Bank. He retired in 1976. Mr. Swift was a 1932 graduate of Radnor High School. He attended Princeton University and served in the Marine Corps during World War II. All right, Marine Corps. All right, I'm Army, but you know I gotta love the Marines. He was active in community, educational, and professional organizations. He was treasurer of the State Republican Finance Committee from 1952 to 1964. Surviving are his sons, A. Dean III, Douglas B., and Scott K., a brother, a sister, and 7 grandchildren. And this was in 1998, so we know that Austin and Taylor were both alive. His wife of 52 years, Rose Douglas Swift, died in 1995. Services and burial on Thursday were private. Okay, so we're going to go back to our main screen. Okay, so we're looking here and we're like, all right, was Scott's mother's name Rose? Probably. This is all looking correct. I don't see anything to make me feel like this is incorrect, especially because they are located in Reading. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to assume that this information is safe. All right. So I am going to go back to the Ancestry and I'm going to say, yes, I want to add this. Now, I keep the article open because sometimes Ancestry does not import the information from newspapers.com correctly. So here, again, his name is recorded only as Scott K. So I'm going to click OK and then click Save as Alternate. And I'm going to delete this Swift because it didn't, although we do assume that his last name was Swift in the article, how they're importing it is a little bit funky to me. So this is him, A. Dean Swift Jr., and then we're going to pencil placeholder, okay? He died in 1998, so that's where they're getting the residence. So we're going to go ahead, pencil, and we're going to add 1998 in as the residence year. And then his death, it says about 1998. So this is another input, right? So we're going to go back to the article, and it says he died of heart failure Wednesday. Here, this is Saturday. So Friday was the 4th, Thursday was the 3rd, Wednesday was the 2nd. So he actually died September 2nd, 1998. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that in here. Okay. And so we know that's correct. So it's saying that Scott's mother is Rose Douglas Swift. We're going to go ahead and add that. That he has a brother who is A. Dean III And then we can do the pencil here to kind of like figure that out. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to do I for the Roman numerals for the third, and then Douglas B. So again, I bring it in this way because I want to be sure how I'm getting the information and what it looked like in the original record. Yes, we can make the assumption that the last name is Swift, but if there are any other records out there where their name isn't connected necessarily how it's written, I want to make sure that Ancestry is going to find those records, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, please let me know if you have any questions. I could probably maybe try to explain that a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save to tree. Amazing, that's saved, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close out of that. Okay, so we've got some brand new information, including parents. I'm going to go back to my tree screen, and then I'm going to refresh. Boom, beautiful, look at that. Amazing, it's gorgeous. So we clearly see here that Archie Dean Swift Sr., so Archie, Archie's a cute name, but he preferred Dean, I guess. So now we've got a little bit more information here, which is great. And so I'm gonna go here and I'm just looking to see if there's anything I want to add. I'm going to go ahead and add this U.S. Public Records. It's all in Reading, and I believe this is the correct date of birth. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this and hit yes. Now remember, when on my facts page, after I've refreshed, we already have a Scott K. Swift as an alternate name. So I can go ahead and just leave this box unchecked. I am going to, however, check the birth box so I get a full date of birth. And then, again, I don't know why this does this, but it does sometimes not bring in the date. So usually what I do is I go back and add that other second date in later, but again, I click the places and make sure they're fully fleshed out so we know where exactly that is. Okay, and so I'm done with him for hints, but I'm going to go here, I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to click on the full date of birth, edit, and I'm going to click preferred and save that. So now when we look at him, his full date of birth is going to be there. Okay, so now let's go ahead, and since we have a date of birth approximately and a date of death for Archie Dean Swift Jr., we're going to see if we can fill in some stuff for Rose. So let's click on Rose for the facts, and then we're going to click Rose again and have the hints tab open for her. Okay, so now we're getting into the good stuff, right? So now we've got some census records for Rose. We see that, in fact, her maiden name is Douglas. She's got a father. She's got a newspapers.com marriage information. And then we see her living with Archie and a child, Douglas, which we know is right. Now, JD may or may not be what's written there. Either the census taker could have misheard, or whoever responded to the census taker's questions said J instead of A. Like, you never know who was answering the questions of a census taker back in the day. So you have to be a little bit flexible with that. And now we have Social Security applications and claims index too, which becomes very, very important. Now remember, this is just the index, so it does not give all the information. You do need to order directly from the Social Security Administration the actual application if you want to see all the information that your ancestor put on the Social Security. It does cost some money, but they typically get them back to you very quickly, which is a blessing, right? I absolutely love working with it. We have some great other things. We have U.S. Presbyterian Church records. So not only gives Rose's date of birth, but also her baptismal date. And then we see that Baldy name that showed up on the Wikipedia page. So we know we are definitely on the right track. And then we have a New Jersey death index. Showed she had passed away in New Jersey. And we've got all that information. Okay, so I am going to go ahead, since we have Social Security Application and Claims Index, that's going to be my first thing to add because it's giving me her date of birth, place of birth, and her parents' names, including her mother's maiden name. So it's going to be very important that we add this right off the bat. Okay, so we are going to go here. Again, I'm going to go view record page. I want to see how things look. And so again, we know we're on the right track because through the years, this person was Rose Baldy Douglas, Rose Douglas Swift, and Rose Swift. So we're like, great, this looks great. So we're going to go ahead and add. As you can see, the Social Security number is there because these people have passed away. So if you're ever going through your family and somebody has not passed away and they're in there and the Social Security number is there, you need to report that to the Social Security Administration right away. Okay, nobody's perfect, right? Everything's run by people. People make mistakes. Give some grace, but make sure they have the correct information. They may ask for proof, of course, but it's important that we make sure the government, state, local, county, federal, all have correct information about us. A point to that. So there are folks out there who did not like their birth names and did not legally change their names from what they were given at birth. This does pose a problem for genealogists later in life. And also, take for example, Real ID right now. You cannot use the name you prefer to use unless it is your legal name. So you either need to have your birth certificate amended or you have to go to court and have your name legally changed to present those documents when you are getting your Real ID at the Department of Motor Vehicles. So please keep that in mind and have some mercy on genealogists and your family in the future and try to have a clear path of how your name changed, right? It becomes very helpful to us later. Okay, so here we go. So we have Rose Douglas Swift because after she married, that was the legal name she was using. It's not a change from what I have in there now, so I'm not going to click the box. 30 July 1920, so happy to have her date of birth now and place. So I'm going to go ahead and click the pencil. We want all the information. We know Philadelphia is in Philadelphia County, so we're going to approve that. Right now in the Social Security Index, all they have is December 1994. They don't have the date. Click the pencil, and we're going to do the placeholder on the place. Charles G. Douglas is the father, and Louise E. Baldy is the mother, and we are going to save to tree. Okay, so now we have this information for Rose, which is clearly there. So exciting. I love to see it. And you'll see too, like for everyone who was still living, they only had about 10 hens. Now, for the first generation that has passed away, we're up to 20. So you can see how we do, governments and places do try to protect folks' information while they are living. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to refresh again. And for some reason, this is a little glitch. I'm not sure why. When you do add stuff from certain indexes, it assumes the folks are living. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Charles, quick edit, and I'm going to say, nope, this person's deceased. Louise, quick edit, this person is deceased. Because again, once we are getting to the first generation of folks that passed at an older age, chances are their parents and grandparents are not living still, especially if it's been 120 years or further back. So we want to make sure that information is correct. Okay, so we're going to refresh this again now that we've said no, they're not living. And then we are going to refresh this just to make sure no new information is popping up. So this is the other reason I love to do genealogy and not just on my own family. Look at how precious these pictures are. I love it. Oh my goodness. Like, look at how cute they were as a couple. Oh my gosh, I love it. You know what? I can definitely see Taylor in her face for sure. Oh my gosh. So like I like to just when I'm doing trees, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I will definitely save this. So I'll click review and I will save to trees. So then the picture pops up there. Oh my god, it's so cute. I love it. I love looking at all these older pictures. Oh my gosh, she just looks so joyful and lovely. I love that. Oh, look at that smile. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was doing before. Okay, so we have got information, and actually, we are going to go ahead and we're going to add the New Jersey U.S. Death Index so we do know that we get the full date and place of birth. So I'm going to hit review. Of course, I'm going to view record page. And so if you want to click out, you can, they now have a feature where you can zoom in. I hate that, honestly, and I just click and open in a new tab so I can see the whole thing. So this is what an index looks like from the government. You can see this was probably scanned a long time ago because it's got the edges on the side from the dot matrix printer for anyone who's familiar with that. So and then there's all these codes. I wish they posted a guide to like city and state codes for these indexes. They're not easily found. I've tried to Google them sometimes and nothing came up. But we're going to close out of that because I'm going to assume this is pulling in the correct information. We already know our name is matches and the birth date matches and then the month and year of the death match. So we're going to go ahead and add this in. Rose D. Swift is a different name. I don't have it yet. So click the box and save as an alternate. And then I'm going to go ahead and click here, save as alternate, and I'm going to do my placeholder because again, I want Ancestry's AI to pick up on that same date of birth, but not in Philadelphia just in case because sometimes information does not match. So I still want to make sure that if it's potentially Rose, I can find that information. Then again, death's all different, so we're going to click death and we're going to click alternate. And we don't have to do anything here. It's already got the city and the county. All states are not created equal. You may have more or less information depending on the state. And then we're going to go ahead and do save to tree. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh my facts page. So I see the two different names and the two different births and two different deaths reflected. I'm going to take the full death information and I'm going to click preferred. And then that updates. So then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go down to this church record. Now, church records are also considered vital records along with birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates. And there's a little bit going on in terms of what information can be trusted from what can be trusted. What information is considered primary versus secondary on any given document. But when I speak about documents in particular in later videos, I'll go more into that. But we're going to go ahead and review. We're going to review this U.S. Presbyterian Church record. And as you can see, they go from 1701 to 1970. Now, Ancestry may have scanned more than that, but based on just respecting folks who are still potentially living, they are going to hold back some of that information until more time passes. So we're going to hit view record page here, and we are going to go ahead and right click and open this in a new tab. So this is lovely. It is handwritten. We have here a register of baptisms. I love to look at this stuff. Oh, how gorgeous, right? So here she is, line 186, Rose Baldy Douglas, Charles Gwen Douglas, and Louise Baldy Douglas, and she was born July 30th, 1920. So gorgeous. So if you want to see baptism, you're going to go ahead and hit click next page. Remember line 186. Okay, and then we can kind of see here, okay, and so then baptized 11/19/1921. So just gorgeous, gorgeous. I love, this person had beautiful handwriting. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out because I already know it's lovely. And we say this is the Wakefield Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So they know that's where this record book is from. So we click yes. Rose Baldy Douglas, we're going to click the box and save as alternate. We already have her date of birth saved without a place, so we're good on that. And then we have baptism 19 November 1921, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we want to make sure that's reflected. Now for the father, we have a full name now, so we want to save that as an alternate, and we want to save her mother's married name as an alternate as well. So we're going to hit save to tree for that. And then we're going to go back to our facts page. We're going to hit refresh. Gorgeous. And then we are going to go ahead and update her name to her maiden name. Now, see, and I already forgot to silence my phone. So we always want to have the person's name at birth, with a couple of exceptions, as their main name, because this is how we trace their family back, right? So when you have a maiden name or the name of your biological family prior to marriage, that's the records we're trying to look for. So I always save the woman's name as her maiden name or name given at birth in my trees, for not only myself but for my clients. I believe this is a very important thing to do. Okay, so now I'm excited. We've got more information on her family. If we go back here and we click refresh, look at how many more things popped up. So now we've got Charles Douglas's parents, potential parents, right? So this is warning us. So I'm going to click on one of these and show you what it looks like. So you click here, and then it says, we think we found a father for Charles G. Douglas. And then I always click review details, and then it will pop up on the side here. So it's saying this person was born in 1850 in Delaware and then died in 1931 in Pennsylvania, which is likely correct, but I still want to go through each person and add records that actually support that information. And then you can just see a quick click, it shows you what would be the potential source records for the potential father. But I'm going to go ahead and click out of that, and then I'm going to go ahead. I kind of want to get everybody to this 5th generation line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to Archie Dean Swift Jr. and I'm going to start adding some information from him. So we're going to click A. Dean Swift Jr. on our facts tab. We're going to click him again for our hints tab and then go to hints. Okay, so here you have a user submitted information is usually at the top. Again, as a professional genealogist, all of this is probably great, but I switch past it. I'm looking for the actual record sets that Ancestry has. Oh my gosh, look how handsome. Look at the Marine. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, so great. And there's different pictures on here. So if I do add pictures, I will make sure I cross tag them for whoever is in the photo so they do start showing up in other people's hints. But this is going to be my favorite picture by far, so I'm going to go ahead and add it, Lieutenant Colonel Archie Dean Swift. Oh my gosh, look at how gorgeous he was. Oh yeah, definitely got some, Taylor got some looks from him for sure. So now that's been added, and then I'm going to go ahead and go down here. Okay. So we've got some Honolulu, Hawaii, U.S. arriving and departing passenger crew list. You look at the date in the 40s, that's usually going to be World War II movements, right? And then we have Find a Grave, which I'll get into later. He applied for veteran compensation for World War II in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania obviously been around since before we were even the United States of America. Great records coming out of a lot of the New England states. And then we have here Social Security and applications. For those of you who don't know or maybe need a refresher, Social Security number started in the 30s with the New Deal and all of that sort of thing. So right now we're in like a great time period to get that information for folks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the Social Security Applications and Claims Index, and I'm going to do View Record Page. Okay, so Archie Dean Swift Jr., that's what that A stands for. Birth date, birthplace, full death date, and then his father's name and mother's name with maiden name. So this looks great to me, and we are going to go ahead and click and save as alternate, click and save as alternate, and then make sure we have the full information for the place. So this is where this can get funny. So you see here that we're looking at like it's saying, oh, right, like Ridgeway, Pennsylvania, no county, maybe Center County, maybe Somerset County, and then they have Kentucky. So it can get a little bit weird. Sometimes I'll play around with the name. Like, is there really an E in Ridgeway? The federal government may not have it. So now it says Ridgeway, Elk, Pennsylvania, which I suspect may be the case, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to go ahead and add the E back, and I'm going to leave it just like that until I can verify that's where he was actually born. Then we have the full date of death, but no place for the Social Security record. So again, I'm going to click it, alternate, and then put in my placeholder because I want all the records that have the date of death but don't have the place attached to them. And then we're going to click for his father and click for his mother. Beautiful. And I'm keeping an eye on my time because I heard another content creator say this, that they used to have a timer for like how far they were going on their streams because they know they like needed to stick to their own schedule and not just stay up and like play games all night. I could do the same thing. I could literally be doing genealogy all night. So I'm going to go here and we got great. And then so we know he married Rose and she died in 1994. But this is a little bit interesting. We have another marriage in 1937 to a Barbara Newton Godley. Now, some people know about their family's prior marriages and some people do not. So, chances are this marriage probably is accurate because I am seeing that he did marry Rose in 1942. So he was married once before, it appears, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole just yet because I'm trying to prove Taylor Swift's line. I'm not trying to prove all of this other information. So looking at the compensation application files, we do see that Ridgeway, Elk, Pennsylvania was where he was born, although it seems that Ancestry's AI has a little bit of an issue with the spelling. So we can go back, refresh our facts page, and then I'm going to say, you know what, that's good for me. I'm going to remove the E so the correct county comes up, and then I'm going to click preferred and go ahead and save that. So now we have all this, and then I'm going to do the full name, preferred, and save. And we're going to hit close. Now, junior, senior, third, second, first is a weird thing. It may not be a legal name because typically when the first person is born, they're not given the addition of senior at their birth, right? That comes later. So again, that might not actually be their legal name, right? It's just a way of setting them apart from the younger son or the younger daughter in some cases. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my hints and I'm going to go down to that Pennsylvania U.S. Veteran Compensation Application files. I want to see if there's any more information about that. So view record page. And then I'm going to go ahead and open this up in a new tab. Okay, so if we scroll in, Swift Archie Dean Jr., and it gives his address at the time he's completing the paperwork, date and place of birth, and then name under which you served in World War II. And then he gives his date of beginning and date of ending of each period of service. So 1941 to 1944, and 42 to 45, and then 45 to 46. So military service can be like that sometimes. That's no big deal. But we have here the date and place the applicant entered active service. Okay. Then service or serial numbers assigned, and then the date they were separated from active service. Okay. So this all looks great to me. I'm gonna go ahead and add that in. This is spelled differently. For that, I guess, yeah, you know what? I'll just go ahead and add it as an alternate just to include the spelling. And then I love here, we have the residence at the time of the application. Now, it seems a little confusing that for this veteran record, the AI is not pulling in a section for military service. So we're going to add that separately. So I do a save to tree. And then we're going to refresh our facts page. And we're going to add. And we're going to go down in alphabetical order. And we're going to do military. So I'm going to put in this November 7th, 1940 in Philadelphia. So this is also a way you can type it in and it'll fix it for you. But because it doesn't know if you're putting the day or the month first, it gives you two options. But we're going to go here in Philadelphia. And he said he entered in the Navy. So I actually love this. Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. We're going to add that. And then we're going to attach the source that we've already added. Okay, so we're going to go to attach source, and then we're going to click the plus by the veterans files. So when this goes in down here, it already has that source attached to it. And then we're going to do the same thing for the date that he edited military service. You also see here you can add the military serial number in. It's not something I typically do because for most folks we're going to be able to very clearly see their name. Now if you are going to request military records from the National Archives, the military serial number is going to be rather important for you to have. Or the social security number if it's past the time point. Now, their military service records are kept at the National Archives in St. Louis, Missouri, at the National Personnel Records Center. So there's a special way to order those. You can just Google National Archives military records and it will show you how. But if you're looking for records concerning like actual ships or movements or battles, those are actually held mostly at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. So that would be a FOIA or Freedom of Information Act request that you would make to the National Archives for those records. Okay, and so we're going to add date and place of separation, March 17th, 1946, again, the Philadelphia Naval Base. So 3/17/1946, and Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Amazing, and we're going to attach the source again. So there we go. We're going to edit that, and then we are going to close. We can close the veteran file here. We can hit refresh on everything so it shows us everything we've added now. And then I'm going to refresh our tree tab. Look at that, beautiful. See, again, it did the whole living thing. I'm not sure why it does this, but you can just quick edit. You can quick edit here in the tree, or you can also quick edit on the person's profile. Okay, quick edit. And that person is deceased. Okay, so now we've gotten up to the 1, 2, 3, 4th, and I want to make sure we have birth and death information for everybody in that 4th generation. So starting with Archie, okay, the senior, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on Archie D. Swift, and somebody actually, oh, this is so cute. Okay, I don't know if you saw in the last picture, but somebody did upload it as Taylor's great grandparents, right? So clearly other people have done this work already, but this is a great family tree to just kind of publicly explore. Now, we see some photos here where it seems color has been added later. I love that we have the ability to do that now, but I'm not necessarily a fan because it's not how the photo originally looked. So I like to add photos of folks when they were young versus older. So I'm going to go ahead, and the first photo I'm going to save is going to be the original sepia toned photo of him as a youngster. And I'm going to go ahead and save that to the tree. Okay, and then we're on the hints already. So I want to find his place of birth and date of birth and place of death and date of death. Now we see here, this says Archie Dean Swift in the Saint Germain family tree. These are family trees pulled from ancestry that were made by other people. Again, as a professional genealogist, this is going to be kind of an area of last resort for me. If I can't find other information, I will go into other folks' trees to see if maybe they got the information from a book, from a record that's not available online or something like that. But first, I want to make sure I explore all of the record sets that Ancestry has to offer. And I'll do a whole video on Find a Grave for you guys. But right now, unless we need to, I'm going to bypass that for a second. Now, this is kind of what is gold for a lot of folks. If you can get a death certificate for free or very low cost online, then it gives you a lot of information. Although we do have to take the birth information on a death certificate with a grain of salt, as well as the parents, because typically the people who are giving the information for death certificates are people who were not around when the person was born or didn't potentially even know their parents. So we know that this is likely correct, but we see here World War II draft registration cards. This information was given by the person who was having to register for the draft. And then we have World War I. Love World War I draft registration cards too, because again, it gives you probably more likely the real date of birth. A lot of people kind of fudge their date of birth, especially back in the day. But not every World War I draft registration card has the place of birth. So this one is saying, hey, he was born August 15th, 1877. And that does not change from the World War II card, but the World War II card does have the place of birth. So this is going to be my gold mine for the birth information, is this World War II draft registration card. So we're going to do view record page, and then I'm going to open it in a new tab, not window. Haha, pretend like you didn't see that. So we're going to go back here and look at it. So we have Archie Dean Swift. He was living at 234 Windermere Lane in Delaware, Pennsylvania. His mailing address is the same. Telephone Wayne 1836. I don't know if y'all knew this, but telephone numbers usually were not that long when they first got started as they are today. He was 64 years at the time. He had to complete this draft card, again, August 15th, 1877, Northeast Pennsylvania. So this says town or county. I don't know all the towns in Pennsylvania, so I'm like, is he just saying who was born in the Northeast area of Pennsylvania, or is this actually a town in Pennsylvania? It could be either one of those things. And then he says, name and address of person who will always know your address, Bernice T. Swift. So he was already married, and working at the Central Penn National Bank. So we definitely know this is the same person, right? We are looking for the same guy. And then we have here the back side of the card. So it gives race. He says he's white, he's 5'9", he has hazel eyes, gray hair, which, you know, at the advanced age of 64, we know. It says he weighed 120 pounds. Wow, he was so skinny. And then he has a light complexion. And then does he have scars or tattoos, and all this other stuff is usually down here. And then he says he has no other exceptions to the information he gave, none to my knowledge. And then this is going to be important in a second here. That's April 27th, 1942. So I'm like, yes, I agree with all this. I want to save it. We're going to hit yes. Okay, Archie Dean Swift. I'm going to go back to my facts, okay? So I only have the one name. So yeah, I want to go ahead and click that box and save as alternate. And then we're going to click the pencil. Okay, so that is a town in Erie County, Pennsylvania, and it's 2 different words. Amazing. Fabulous. You learn something new every day. So that April 27th, 1942 date, I always put it here, right? Because that's giving us a very specific date. We can place this person in this Delaware city. So 4/27/1942, and then Delaware City, okay. He says he was in Delaware, Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna remove the city and see if that's so then we have a little bit of an issue. We've got multiple Delawares in multiple counties in Pennsylvania. So then I'm going to go here, and it says Montgomery County. So, okay, now we know. So, this is the board in Montgomery County. Okay, so we don't know. So, you know what? I'm going to Control Z, and we're just going to leave it Delaware City. And then he says his residence. You know, again, it is what it is. We'll enter it, and things are confused. So Wayne, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a little confusing to me, but nothing's perfect. But what's important is we know that he was in Pennsylvania, right? In that area of Pennsylvania. And now you see we've already, now that we've entered some information for him, had Taylor's 5th generation pop up on the site. But we want to make sure we get the rest of Archie Dean Swift's Sr.'s information in here. So we're going to go back to facts, we're going to refresh, and then I'm going to update to his full name and hit save. Because remember, when he was born, he was not a senior. So this is actually his legal name at birth. Okay, so we can close out of the World War II draft card, and then we're going to go down to the death certificate, and we're going to see if everything matches, because that's always super fun. Okay, so, oh, you know what? I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to do the marriage information. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to do this and show you a little bit of what marriage records look like, not just marriage announcements like in the newspaper. So again, I'm going to right click, open a new tab, so we can see what this actually says. So, this is so frustrating. So here we go. Application for marriage. It says don't publish something. I don't know, but clearly it's published now, so I'm not sure what that's about. But when you are requesting marriage information from your state or county, you want to do your best to get the marriage license application, because that's going to have way more information on it than just the marriage license or even the marriage certificate. So you want to make sure you're asking for the marriage application if you can get it. So here we have, it's application number 4786, Archie Dean Smith and Bernice Maud Thompson. Neither party is related by blood or marriage. 32 years, 27 years, Ridgeway, Pennsylvania, without the E. So again, that shows me, okay. And then she also lives in Ridgeway. And then parents' names, man, Josephias Swift, and Wilbur W. Thompson. So this one doesn't give the mother's name, unfortunately, but it just gives the father's names. And then it says, and here we go, date of man's former marriage, if married, October 10th, 1901. So not only Junior was married before, but also Senior, but his wife did die within a decade of them being married. And then single says she's never ever been married before. And it says occupation of man, cashier, something company at National Bank, and then occupation of stenographer. Occupation of woman stenographer. Normally I would make sure I could read that a little more clearly, but I'm only going to be doing this video for another 15 minutes. So I'm going to make sure that I can make sure to do that. So, and this video is being recorded for later. So then we see this is the marriage license. Legal evidence has been furnished in accordance with the laws, and they had the license issued August 31st of 1909, and then a duplicate certificate. So this person certified, who ends up being the minister of the gospel, that on September 2nd, 1909, they were married in Ridgeway, Pennsylvania at the bride's home, and this was in accordance with the license issued by the clerk of the Orphans Court of Elk County, Pennsylvania. So Orphans Court, a lot of states had this back in the day. That's usually what they called anything that had to do with marriage and children was the Orphans Court. It means nothing other than that in this context, basically. So again, all of that looks perfect. It looks like it aligns with what we know about the family. Here, again, the AI or someone who translated this record said Josephine. I'm pretty sure, again, when we scroll in, that says Josephius, right? Josephius. But, you know, I will kind of put it in as what they translated it as unless I have another option. So we're going to hit yes. Archie Dean Swift is the same, about 1877, based on the age. We're going to do our placeholder for the place because that wasn't listed in there. They were married September 2nd, 1909. We know they were married in Ridgeway, so we're going to go ahead and add that in. Ridgeway with no E. Thank you very much. And then, oh my gosh, okay, maybe it is Josephine. I don't know. That was everyone's cursive is not the greatest sometimes. And then Wilbur W. Thompson is the father of Bernice, and there's no E on this mod, so we're going to go here, we're going to click Save Alternate, and I'm going to delete that E off the mod because it's not in the record. Again, we're going to hit the pencil, put our placeholder in, and it did not import Bernice's father's name, so we're just going to save to tree for that one. Okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to refresh everything, refresh. Okay, and then Willard Wilbur Thompson. So he's in here as Wilbur W. Thompson. I'm going to go ahead and click here and add manually. Willard W. Thompson, because that's what's in the record, and that's what we know right now. Okay, so back to Archie. We are going to now go to the death certificate and see what information is on there. So, death certificates, and see, he died in the 60s. So this is going to look very modern in terms of how death certificates look to this day, with the exception being that they're usually computer generated. But in the 60s, of course, they're collecting a lot more information than they would have earlier than that. So on a standard death certificate, you're going to get a variety of information. Death occurred, where, when, but where, what, did they live, or where was their mail sent to if they did not die at the same place. You're going to get the name of the deceased. Again, you see how this is written in a different color pen? That's because somebody later was like, oh, the middle name is Dean, because the person who initially filled it out did not have that information. Date of death, where did the deceased live? So here they've got mailing and residence on this death certificate. And then we've got male, race, or color, married, date of birth, and age. So this is great to actually have a correct date of birth on a death certificate. He's in banking. He was born in Pennsylvania and a citizen of the U.S. Full name of spouse, mother's maiden name, father's name, and then informants is A. Dean Swift. So this is great because we know that the informant is the son, because we know that that's his name already. Again, it might not even be a family member who is the informant on the death certificate. It really just depends on the circumstances of the death and if there's anyone close by that's of any relation. Then we have the cause, so it says cerebral vascular accident thrombosis, and then cerebral vascular antisclerosis. So unfortunately, and then they had aspirating pneumonia, like also leading up to that. Then you get who certified that they were deceased in the time, burial information, if there was a funeral director, and then the state registration. So when the state actually received this information that the person was deceased. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to say yes, this is correct, especially because we know the informant was the son. We're going to click the box and say alternate, because all we gave on the death certificate was the state. And then 9/28/1961 at Bryn Mawr Hospital, so in Bryn Mawr, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. So that's all correct. Charles James Smith. It doesn't have death information for parents on here, so I'm not sure why it's pulling that in. So I'm going to uncheck this box and then check the box for the name because it's a different name. Save as alternate, uncheck the death box because it doesn't have that information on there. And then add the spouse, Bernice T. Swift. And for the spouse, I don't believe it says he's married, not that he's widowed. So again, there's no death information for the spouse, so I'm going to go ahead and unclick that box to add this information. All right, so now we've got full date and place of birth information for Archie Dean Swift. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on to Bernice and see if we can get that date and place of birth information for her. So one of the future videos I'm going to do is how to get from yourself or another person back to the Revolutionary War era in under 3 hours. So I'm adding a lot more information that I normally wouldn't add if I was doing that kind of initial research. So we're going to go back, we're going to click hints for our hints tab on Bernice. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. I see, I love these pictures. Oh, look at how gorgeous. Oh my God, I love it. I'm dying, I'm like literally dead. I'm dead. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to review that and I'm going to add that. Oh, how beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can find birth and death information. So she died once they started doing the Social Security Death Index. So we've got at least basic information for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that. And again, because she has passed, the Social Security number is easy to see. Now, if you look here on the right-hand side, you're going to see some hints that may or may not pop up. So this looks interesting to me. Pennsylvania U.S. birth certificate. So I open that in a new tab. Oh, it's for their child. It's not for her. So I'm going to close that out because I'm not doing that right now. And so I'm going to go ahead and just add this information. And we go back. We don't have a Bernice Swift with no middle name or initial. I'm going to add that as alternate. Go here. Have my placeholder because there's no place. Residence, 1973 Pennsylvania, and then death, March 1979. Click the pencil and add our placeholder. Now, the reason why I do that is because if you add another record later, it will import the place from the new record into the information that didn't have a place of birth or death. I also find that really confusing. You should just not import it into the original thing that was saved if you're not going to do that, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I just want everything to be clean in terms of like, if I'm looking through the record, what did this record say? Did it or did it not have a place, a date, a place and a date of birth or death or marriage, right? For some reason, it doesn't do that in the marriage records and information, which again, I found a little bit bizarre, but once you learn the quirks of a system, sometimes you don't necessarily need them to fix it because they might end up breaking something else. So we're going to go here, we're going to back to our facts tab, we're going to refresh, we're going to update her preferred name to her full maiden name with middle name, and then close that, and then we're going to update her birth to the full birth. And so now I've got that. I've got at least date of birth and death for Bernice, so I'm going to move on because we are getting short on time in terms of what I want to accomplish today. So I close out of those. I'm going to so now we have a potential mother for Bernice, which is great. So I'm going to open Charles Douglas. I'm going to open him in a new tab, and then I'm going to open the hints in a new tab so we can get that information for him. Oh, interesting. So a member added this on Ancestry saying he won a Grammy Award. I'm not sure about that or if that has more to do with Taylor. But again, I tend to not add things that can't be proven from other members. So I'm just going to let that go because it's not an actual picture of the person. So we're going to go down here. We're looking to see, okay, so this is the birth of Charles and Louise's son. This is not Charles's birth certificate, but he does have a death certificate. He also does have the registration cards. And this World War I draft registration card appears to have a place on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and click review. View record page. And then I'm going to look it up. Okay, so yes, this is an excellent World War I draft registration card. We've got a full name, a full date of birth, and a place of birth. I love it. So again, we're going to keep this open while we go ahead and say, yes, we want to add this information. Okay, so we're going to click yes, we want to add the full name. It didn't import that it was Philadelphia, so we click the pencil. We're going to add Philadelphia in here and put it in here full. Now this residence, I'm going to update it because again, I'm going to go here and look, and it says date of registration, June 5th, 1917. So I want to make sure I get that date in there. June 5th, 1917, and then where was he living at the time? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we got all of that. I'm going to make sure that's all correct, and then we're going to hit save. Okay, so we can close the draft card, and now we're going to go back down and see, did a marriage record pop up, or is it just the death certificate still? It looks like it's just the death certificate still, so I'm just going to add that. Marriage information can always be added later. Okay. And then we have that name already. This is the same. Okay, and then his father is also Charles G. Douglas. And we're gonna right click again because we just want to make sure, is there actually death information for his parents on here? It is the same exact setup of the last certificate, death certificate we looked at, which does not show the death information for the parents, and then he is not widowed. So we're again gonna click out of this for his parents and his spouse, because that is not correct information, and we're gonna alternate for the name and click out of that, and then we're gonna save string. If you'll notice, it did not add the burial information from the death certificate, so you will have to go back and add that later, like I showed you before with the military information, and then save the source. So we can click out of that. We're going to go here. We're going to refresh on our facts tab, and I didn't realize I had it already saved from the thing, so I'm going to show you what to do with this. So this one is attached to the World War I draft registration card. I'm going to click edit. I'm going to attach the source. I'm going to go ahead and add that Presbyterian Church record too. I'm going to hit preferred and save. So now this name has both record sources attached to it, and then I'm going to delete the one that has just the one record source. So again, this is just a personal preference to help keep things clean for me. And now that we've got the birth and death information for Charles Glenn, we are going to go to Louise, and we are going to go ahead and click her. So we have her on a facts page, and then we have click her again on the hints page, and then go to hints. Okay. Again, this stuff is cute, but to me, it just clutters up a tree, right? So I'm not hitting ignore on anything right now, but I would normally hit ignore it on that because it bothers me to see it. It has no bearing on what is actually true about this individual. Oh my gosh, I've never seen this one before, so I'm so excited. So Pennsylvania, U.S. orders Sons of Italy and America mortuary fund claims. So I don't know if this organization still exists and they still offer assistance for folks who pass, but this is an amazing record. And it goes to show you that sometimes it's not the government that's going to help you find stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. There is a marriage record here. It's an index from Philadelphia. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one first because it occurs before the death. We're going to view record. So again, this one gives you the marriage license number. So if you wanted to go back and order from Philadelphia, you could do that. It does not give the full marriage date, only the year. But this is sufficient for us. So we're going to go ahead. Again, not a change in the name. We're going to click the pencil here just to clean this up so it says USA. And we know here we already have a Charles G. Douglas on him from his other profile, so we can click Save to Tree, and it's going to add that marriage very quickly. And then we are going to go to this brand new record set that I have not seen before. And Ancestry does have a ton of different records that they add, and they add new record sets all the time. So I'm going to right click, open in a new tab. You guys are already going to know my little process after this. So here we go. So this is actually part of their record set. The death certificate, I'm assuming, had to be submitted to request the funds from this organization. Yes, okay, yeah. So the beneficiary was the deceased mother, and it was for her. It has the lodge number. So this looks like they're set up like the Freemasons are set up. And oh my gosh, look how inexpensive it was to pass in the 70s. $400. I mean, maybe that's not all of what it cost, but I feel like it probably didn't cost much more than that. And that's the back of the check. But we're more interested in the death certificate here. Okay, so it says the death occurred in Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, at the Morris Manor East Convalescent Center. Again, Louise Baldy Douglas. Oh gosh, this is very faded. So maybe July 16th, 1976. And it says widowed, so we know the husband died before that. We've got a full date of birth. We've got a social security number. They made sure they didn't put deceased after the spouse. Again, sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. We get the names of the parents, and the informant was Mrs. Louise D. Turner. So it appears that the mother was the informant. So this information should be great because the mother was definitely present when she was born. And then again, we have the other registrar information is faded at the bottom, but we can clearly get burial information. And you see the XX here shows the burial. It was burial and not cremation or removal. And then the death information. So immediate cause, cardiac arrest. Genealogy is another thing that gives you very good insight into the health of your family, especially at the time of their passing, right? So you're going to know what was the immediate thing they died of, but then you're also going to find out, did they have any other very serious medical conditions at the time that they passed? So if you have a lot of medical issues and you're not in contact with your family, this is actually a great way to get your medical history information, at least a small snapshot of it. So I do recommend, if folks have the time and the means to do this, that they do request death certificates for folks in their family so they can get a fuller picture of the health of your family overall and through time. Okay. So we're going to say yes, we definitely want to save this, right? What a great piece of information. And Louise Baldy Douglas, we're going to go here, refresh again. So we definitely have Louise Baldy Douglas in here. So we don't need to click that again. And then we're going to just double check on here that it didn't say she was born in Philadelphia. So again, we're going to have to add that in. Okay, and then Plymouth Township. Now it's up to you. You can add township into this if you would like to do that. You don't have to either. Sometimes, it kind of doesn't make it happy. Like in this case, it turned out great, but sometimes it doesn't make Ancestry happy. I'm not exactly sure why. And this says July 10th, 1976. Again, it's so faded. I'm just gonna assume that's correct because this is what the 6 looks like over here, and it looks smaller but similar, but I'm just gonna go with them and assume it's the 10th. So you can say it's a tree. Again, if you ordered from Philadelphia, it's likely that you would get a better quality one that isn't faded, because oftentimes when we handle certificates as family, our fingers rub them and all the other stuff, so some information gets rubbed off. And copiers weren't necessarily the absolute best back in the 1970s either. So if they are scanning a copy, right, it won't come out especially well. Okay, so we've met our goal for, we're going to go back to our tree. We've met our goal for Taylor's paternal side, her father's side. So we just need to get places of our information for birth and death for Lancelot, Lovett, and Eleanor down here. So I'm going to go ahead and close these other 2 tabs because we're moving into a different part of the family, right? Oh, we don't have any information for her grandfather, Robert. Okay, so let's start with him. We're going to open, so we have a facts tab for Robert, and then open to have a hints tab for Robert. So here we go, right at the top. They're like, you said this guy's still living. He is not still living. So we are going to go ahead and add the application and claims information, which, and the date and everything is the same as the World War II, so I don't have to worry about adding that instead of the draft card. Okay, so view record page, and we're gonna hit yes. And like most folks named Lancelot, he decided to call himself Lance, it looks like. So we are gonna save that alternate name. We are gonna hit the pencil to clean up the place of birth, and then we're gonna hit the pencil again to put in our placeholder for the place of death. We are going to add the alternate name for the father and add the alternate name for the mother and hit save to tree. Okay, and there's that gorgeous picture again, so we're going to add it for him too, so they can be together even in our tree. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, so we're going to go back here, we're going to refresh on our facts tab, and then we're going to make sure we set his full name at birth as his preferred name, and then we will refresh our tree. Amazing. Now we've got 5th generation for everybody. Love it. And some of them are still potential, but just by entering this information and accepting the hints that Ancestry already had, we're like up to the 5th generation, which is always satisfying for me personally. Like these are people who were born in the mid 1800s, right? So, and then like, see, this is why I don't accept other people's trees, because they literally put in the person's name great 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 grandfather to Taylor Swift the singer. I don't think that's necessary, okay, unless people are running around on Ancestry trying to find the family of celebrities by looking at other people's trees. I don't think that's great, that you would be like prowling people's public trees for that, but whatever, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click up to Lancelot, and we're going to make sure he has a facts tab and a hints tab. Again, photos, these are the colored ones. I would love to have the actual black and white one that's like down here in this tree instead. I'm going to skip adding that photo. So here we've got census, we've got marriage. So it looks like he's had a couple spouses himself, okay, which is fine. And then, okay, so maybe a cleaner version. Yeah, it looks like a cleaner version of the Ohio. There's one for the county and then one for the actual state level. And then, so it looks like he was born in England and then came over with his, so maybe they went to England after they got married, it looks like. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so the mother of, in Taylor's line we want is Eleanor. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add this cleaner looking copy from the Ohio U.S. County Marriage Records for Eleanor when they got married. And view record page. I'm going to open in a new tab. So this gives you a little bit different take. You saw Pennsylvania's marriage records already. Here is how Ohio looks. So this does include the application, but it's a lot more condensed, and you have multiple folks on the same page. So yeah, so Lance and Eleanor were married when he was 41 and she was 33. He was born at sea. Oh, that's awesome. And then she was born in Dunkirk, New York. Okay, so we've got some information here for sure, and they both had been married once before. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to accept this. And I'm just Lance G. Finlay. We already have that one, so we don't need to save it again. And we're going to go ahead and hit the pencil, and we're going to write at sea, because that's what this record says, at sea. And then they got married. Let's see the return. 27th November 1917, I'm sorry, in the county. So no area there in terms of township or city. The father, George, is usually short for George. It just says Geo here. Emma Williams was his mother. We actually have Eleanor A. Mayer saved earlier. I don't know if y'all remember, but we do. But it says, oh, we don't have that. We have Eleanor A. Clare saved. So this one we are going to do bloop as an alternate, and then we're going to hit that pencil and put the placeholder in for the birth. And we're going to hit save to tree. Now, I'm going to leave this up because it does have her parents in there, so I just want to make sure. So her married name is Claire, but her maiden name is Myers. So then we're going to go in our hints, and we're going to see, okay, we don't have a death record. However, we do have an obituary. So we're going to go ahead. Then I'm going to close out of that marriage record right now because I want to see what this obituary is all about. So we're going to view record page, and then I'm going to, boom, open to the thing. So Finlay Lance George, Mr. Finlay, 75, died Sunday at his home at 217 Australian Avenue, Palm Beach. He moved to Palm Beach from Bronxville, New York, and was a member of the Hiram Masonic Lodge, Jersey City, New Jersey. So this is awesome because that means Taylor Swift has Masonic lineage and she is eligible for Order of the Eastern Star. We love it. Okay, he was a retired vice president, director, and treasurer of Raymond Concrete Pile Company, Cedar, New York. Survivors include the wife, Mrs. Eleanor Finlay, Palm Beach, a son, Robert B., Los Angeles, California, a daughter, Mrs. Janet F. Smith, Crestwood, New York, and 2 grandchildren. Funeral arrangements will be announced by Scobie Funeral Home. So we've got a good amount of information in here. This feels good to me, feels accurate to me, feels correct. And then I'm just going to refresh our facts tab. Do we have Lance George Finlay? We do not have that example of that. And then does it say where he was born? It does not. So we are going to click that, erase at sea, add the placeholder, and save as alternate. So this was 1951, Palm Beach, Florida. So we're going to put that year in for the residence. And then what day did he die? Sunday. It is Tuesday. So Monday is the 23rd. Sunday is the 22nd. So he died April 22nd, 1951. So we're going to update that. We're going to update till we get the full area. Then we're going to click down here. That's an alternate name. Robert B. No last name. So again, we're going to delete that because that's not how it appears in the record. And then it does say his daughter, a Mrs. Janet F. Smith. So we will add that in as a new child of the person. And I'm going to hit Save to Tree. Okay. So we have now got a date and place of birth. However, I'm going to go a little bit further and add this information from his naturalization record. These are also a great wealth of information for folks who are not native to the United States, in terms of they were born outside of what would be considered the borders of the United States. So here we have the petition that's with the file, which cuts off a little bit of the application, and it says right here glued pages, so that's why. So that's a little disappointing, but we still get a lot of information here. So he says he is Scottish. He was born in Southampton, England on 11/16/1876. So it's interesting that he says when he's getting married that he was born at sea. So we don't, which one is correct? We don't know. He is living in Miami And then he has all of his wife's information, and then where his children were both born. Okay, and where he has lived outside of the United States. And you can see his signature. So complete and true signature. Some people collect signatures of famous folks. And then sometimes you just want to check the next page to see if there's any more information. But these two pages, which one of which is glued, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say yes, we're going to accept this information as well. We already have, if we refresh, a Lance George Finlay, and then we're going to add this Southampton in Hampshire, England. Okay, and then departure, so Port of Spain under the name George Finlay, that was September 6, 1897. So we're going to add that date in. 6, 1897. And I don't know, BWI. We're just going to leave it like that. And then he arrived in, that's not right. Okay. So he arrived in New York. Oh, we don't have the date. So, you know what? I'm just going to say 1890, or I put 1987. I'm just going to say 1897 for Spain, and then we have the arrival date. And then we're going to do New York, USA. I'm going to just capitalize that because I'm picky. And then we're going to go and save as alternate only the first name. And we're going to save her date of birth. And we know it is Dunkirk, not question mark. Dunkirk, Chautauqua County. We're going to save as alternate. And then we're going to go back to our facts page. And we are going to save this Southampton as our preferred place and date of birth. So let's go finish up Eleanor. And hit her with some facts. Oh, yeah, so that's what the Grammys in. They're just saving. So this is what I normally do, like this, because it has no bearing on what's going on right now. Okay, so we already got marriage information. So what I'm going to do is see what else I have about her. So she is in the New York, U.S. State Death Index. So we are going to go ahead and add that. And then I'm going to click this and save that as an alternate. Click that and save that as an alternate. It's 1884 and 1885 are two different years. And then I'm going to hit 1968 because that's her year. And then they just give us that she died in New York, the state. So that's it. We're just going to leave that like that and hit that. I am going to double check. I'm going to hit refresh on her facts page. And I am going to, so again, I have two different things here that have the same name. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Edit. And then she was like that and claims. So this is our preferred. And we're going to hit save. And then I'm going to delete this extra one because we don't need that. Okay. And then we're going to update her date of birth to the full one. And then I'm just going to check the death index. Yes. Yeah. So it's likely she died in this place, but we don't know that for sure without seeing the actual death certificate. Okay. So I'm going to click out of both of these. We're going to refresh our tree one more time. And now every single person in Taylor Swift's fourth generation has information on their birth and death. So just to give you a preview of what I would be looking for if, say, I was going to help a client join Daughters of the American Revolution, right? So I'm going to look a little bit and see, okay, there we have another one of the living things. So I'm going to check on that, make sure that's all, because we know he's not still living. She's not still living. Like, we got to fix that. I'm not sure how that can be fixed. But yeah, so these folks right here. So review details from her. So Barbara was born in Pennsylvania. So it appears to me that it's likely that through this line she could potentially be eligible to join something like Daughters of the American Revolution. This Kingsley line here, gotta fix this too. I didn't used to do this. I'm not sure why it does this now, but just because you're not adding death information doesn't mean somebody who was born in the 1850s is still alive. Yeah, so like it didn't do that for Willard. I don't know. So then review details here. So this is her Italian line. So he was born in Italy here, Charles Baldi, and then Louise was born in Pennsylvania, so that also may be a potential line. A lot of Germans actually did come here before the Revolutionary War and then help fight and also provide aid. So we know that Lancelot was born in England, so that's not a likely line. And then we're just cleaning up this, saying that folks are still living. Okay, so we've got Julius Meyer here, or Mayer, probably Mayer. And then he says he was born in Winweiler. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that one before. And then, oh my gosh, okay. And then we've got Delia, born in Germany. Henry, born in Missouri. That could be a potential line, depending on how early they got here. Anna Bruins in Missouri, so same thing. And then Morrow, Arkansas. That family was likely here as well. Came from New England or the Mid-Atlantic, and then Mississippi. Okay, so basically Taylor Swift has a lot of potential in her family tree, and based on the public trees I'm seeing from other ancestry members, she probably has had this done over and over again. So Taylor, if you want to be a daughter of the American Revolution, like, please come join us, be a daughter. We call celebrities and other women of note in the DAR dazzling daughters. So that would be amazing. And again, also Order of the Eastern Star, of which I'm a member because I also have Freemasons in my family. So there are all kinds of organizations out there that actually spring out of genealogy, but are nonprofits, and they do great things in their communities. But this was an introduction to building your family tree on Ancestry.com. Again, this is not a free resource, but it is a very useful resource. And I often use this in conjunction with Family Search, which is a free website, but has its own special quirks. But as a professional genealogist, you definitely have to use a number of different resources and databases in order to build the most comprehensive family tree you can for your clients. I typically charge like a set hourly fee, but I have a minimum 5-hour time requirement. So a lot of my packages are built that way. So my like introductory family tree includes 5 hours of research and data entry for any information you already have about your family. Now, I will say that if you have an ancestry tree already or a family search tree, I am skeptical of them because a lot of us perpetuate myths in our family without actually knowing if they're true or not. And for various reasons, our family may have been dishonest about their backgrounds or where they came from. For example, when I worked in higher education, I had a student who was family surprised when his mother's DNA came out 75% Italian and 25% Middle Eastern, because they had always been told that they were 100% Italian. But at that time in history where that change was made in their DNA, or the Middle Eastern was introduced into their DNA, as an alternative, it was probably safer for that person to say that they were Italian rather than Middle Eastern, right? So again, like for Irish people in history, if you could get away with saying you were English other than Irish, right? If you didn't have a very thick Irish accent, you would probably do that instead, just because the Irish were definitely put upon folks who were Jews but passed as something else, folks of color who could pass as Caucasian, right? We see this all throughout history, and it makes it challenging to do genealogy, but it also makes it very fruitful and rewarding, because it's just part of the history of our country and the challenges and obstacles that we have had to overcome. Not only in our own families, but as a nation, and all those stories should definitely be included. So again, my name is Megan, or EB, Busy Beeheimer B, and I'm going to be posting content on YouTube, on TikTok. I'm going to be streaming not only genealogy on Twitch, but also The Sims 4, and maybe even some other Sims iterations. And then I'm also just if you follow me on TikTok, I do have a lot of content that can be considered political, but it often ties back to my experiences as a woman of color and in this country, and as a military veteran, and what that does. So if you're also interested in military history in your family, genealogy is the way to do that as well. Through my work on my own family tree, I have discovered that I descend from folks who have been fighting for this country since before it was a country. I have about 52 presumed Revolutionary War ancestors that would be eligible for Daughters of the American Revolution, Sons of the American Revolution, and Children of the American Revolution on my white side. I have not broken through slavery on my black side yet. We're hoping as DNA advances and DAR's policies around DNA advance along with the technology, that those of us who are having those struggles and breaking through slavery as a brick wall will be helped by that. But the vast majority of my family on both sides has served in the Army, and only 4 people I've found so far have served outside of the Army, and that would be 3 Navy and 1 Marine Corps. So I am extremely proud of my family's military service in the Army for this country. And all we can do, right, is lean on the Constitution and look to each other to help guide our lawmakers to make things better. And genealogy is another way we can do that, right? We can tell these stories of these folks and what they fought for, if their journals still exist. If anything like that still exists, then we can have, a great time in sharing those stories and using them to educate folks around the world about what we're doing. Thank you so much for joining me today and Taylor Swift's Ancestry Tree. I had so much fun, and if you want to do another celebrity, let me know. If you would like to be featured on a video or stream, let me know. I'll have you sign some paperwork saying you're not going to sue me, right, for having your information out publicly. But other than that, I'm so excited to continue this journey with you all, and have a great Sunday afternoon. Bye.